Welcome to the Yes Show. I'm your host, Christine Trippy. Each week, we'll explore the life-changing power of saying yes, along with hotel leadership made easy. Get ready for inspiration, fun, and sweet hospitality. Let's go. Wise Pineapples, have we got a treat for you today? Our guest is the one, the only Skye Branson, a dynamo in both hospitality and home life. With 14 years of passion powering her career, Skye currently leads as general manager for the Crestline Hotels and Resorts at a prestigious Hilton branded property in downtown Seattle. She also happens to be a pilot charter member of the Crown Society Insiders Club. At home, she's a proud mom to three incredible monsters: Aubrey, a curious 4-year-old, and the energetic 2-year-old twins, Jet and Luna, who keep every day delightfully unpredictable. As if that wasn't enough, Skye has recently said yes to truly change the world by becoming a surrogate. That's right. She's that amazing. Join me for this fun and meaningful conversation. Let's go. Welcome, Skye. We're so excited to have you. I have been wanting to have this conversation with you for everyone else for so long. Now, you have courageously said yes to being a surrogate. Can you share what inspired you for this decision and how this experience has enriched your perspective on life and leadership?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the original inspiration came from actually when we were starting our own family. So we tried to make, the mature decision to wait until we were far enough in our careers and felt, like we were stable in the careers, financially stable, ready to bring, to build our family. And we found that for us, the process was not quite as easy as we hoped it was going to be.
Oh.
And so we had to go through fertility treatment in order to have our kids both times, and obviously was
Mm.
successful. We have three.
Mhm.
But we were, I call us the lucky of the unlucky because I don't think anybody who goes through fertility treatment is lucky.
Right.
But we did IUI for both of our pregnancies, which is
Okay.
definitely the least invasive, least expensive.
Oh.
Um, so very fortunate in
Can
that
you
sense.
ad lib a little bit on that?
Yeah.
IUI. I'm not even sure what that stands for myself.
Oh, God. Let me look
I'm
it
used to yeah, oh,
up.
you don't have to look it up, but
Yes.
I'm used to the IVF, like hearing
Yes.
that
Yeah.
terminology.
Yes.
Is
So
it the
yeah,
same?
to do that. The surrogacy has been is part of IVF because it's not my egg. So that's been
Okay.
kind of interesting. So, but the second half, so they have an egg donor. And then
Oh.
so the egg donor went through kind of the part one of IVF. And then I was part two where they implanted the embryo. But
Okay.
yeah, so IUI had nothing to do, like it didn't have an embryo. So IUI, intrauterine insemination.
Okay.
Yes.
Learning more every
Yeah.
day.
I have to look it up too.
It's
Um,
quite a miracle.
yeah, no, it really
Mm.
is. But that one is yeah, it's less invasive. It's only one shot as opposed to IVF, which is so many. So very
Oh.
fortunate, a lot less medication, so it's less of an impact on your hormones. So
Mm.
I'm very lucky.
Yes.
Of the unlucky. And so when we had the twins, we knew three kids, that was enough. We were done. And we had always talked about my husband and I wanting to give back to the community, like in some way, like to help
Mm.
others that were not as fortunate as we as we were. And so I had always talked about doing surrogacy. And Joe's sister, my husband, his sister, actually, she's done it multiple times.
Oh, she
And
has.
so, yes. And so that was
Wow.
part of, I think, kind of what led us to think, okay, maybe that's the path we go down in
Mm.
order to kind of fulfill that want to help
Mm.
another family.
Yes.
And so, I had looked into it, every now and then I would look it up on the internet, like take the surveys to see if I qualified, but never really put in the effort to go
Right.
forward with it. And then, gosh, 2024. Yeah. So just over a year ago, in the
Hmm.
Crown Society, as one of the Monday morning huddles, there was a huddle about kind of planning out your year. And it was
Hmm.
about, having something quarterly to look forward to, like adventures or family vacations,
Hmm.
and then having your misogi, your one thing that's going to define your year.
Yes.
And to plan that out in January. So plan out your year. And from that, I was very inspired. And I was like, okay, maybe this is the year that I really look into fulfilling this dream and making it happen. And so I did. And I actually reached out to my fertility agency to get their recommendations. Like, how do I even get into this, into this world? Like, how does it work? So much
Yes.
research that needs to
So
go
your
in.
first step was to call an agency and
Yes,
ask those questions. I love that. That would be the
yes.
first step. If anyone else out there is thinking about it.
And I will say it can be overwhelming because there
Mm.
are so many agencies that, I mean, all over the country that will help you with this. And so calling my fertility clinic and saying, okay, who do you work with? Who's top of your list that you would recommend kind of helped me to narrow it down,
Oh,
at
good.
least for a top three. Like, okay, here's the ones to call, and find out if it's going to be a good fit. And it's definitely, they're interviewing you more medically to make sure that you
Mm.
meet the qualifications, but then you want to make sure, like, this is like who you're going to want to work with throughout this whole process.
Right.
So finding that right fit in an agency, because the agency, I will say, I mean, some, I guess, instances you talk to them more than you talk to the parents. So
Mm.
the agency is a critical role. So finding one that
Yes.
fits for you is important.
And are
And so
you able to share who you went through?
yeah, so I'm with US Surrogacy.
U.S. Surrogacy.
And
Okay.
so yes, and yeah,
Nice.
that's the name of the company. And yeah, they're fantastic. So, and
Wonderful.
they work with international families. Because yeah, one of the things I learned through this process is that a lot of other countries use the United States because surrogacy is illegal, or there
Oh.
aren't laws and it's not, there's no structure around it. And so I've learned a lot throughout this.
Hmm.
And so that's been really kind of interesting too. But
Yes.
yeah, so once you find your agency, you have to do, there's a lot of paperwork. They get your medical records, they send it off to the fertility clinics to make sure that the fertility clinic is going to give you the green light and say that you're healthy enough, your pregnancies were
Okay.
healthy enough to go forward. Then once that process happens, then you start meeting with what we call intended parents.
Wow.
And those, yeah, so the parents to be is really exciting.
How
Um, and
exciting.
and then it's kind
I
of
mean,
like,
just think about you really get this because you were that person that was
mhm,
dreaming of having that family and it wasn't in your reach at a certain point. And now to be able to give this gift to a family,
mhm,
it's just overwhelmingly wonderful. And I just think so much of you. That's why I've been so excited to share you with everyone I can. I just think you're so special. And
no,
I
thank
love
you.
how it began for you. I love that I had a part in it.
Yes, yes, you did.
But I love the most is that when we think of these overwhelming things that we want to accomplish, it all begins with one step. If you
Mhm,
can have a vision of something you want that might be so grand, but just what's that first step? And
mhm,
every single little way you went, you just said, what's the next step? What's the next step?
mhm.
And here you are.
Yes, I know. I know. And it's crazy to think it's only like 13 months later. It's
Yeah.
February.
And look
So
at it. You've created another life. And
I
you're going to give a
know.
family a whole new life. It's just amazing. I love it.
Yeah. No, no, it is. Yes,
Yes.
and getting matched with the family is really fun. It kind of it almost kind of feels like dating. I got
Yeah.
married like almost right out of high school, so I never had to do the dating apps, but I imagine this is what it would be like. So you have
Uh-huh.
to create your profile with like pictures of you, your family, what you do for
Oh,
fun, and then the intended parents do the same. And then you essentially the agency swaps your profile. So if they think that you would be a good match, they'll send
oh,
you the other's profile, you read it over and say, whether or not you want to look further into the relationship. And then if you both say yes, then you schedule like this, like a Zoom call
okay.
where you talk, and then get to know each other a little bit more. And then from there, you decide like, okay, this is who I want to match with.
How
Um,
amazing.
yeah, and so it's so fun. It's a really cool process.
And then the other part of it is my leadership block has always been indecision.
Mhm.
I'll be like, I just want to do it for everybody. How do I
Oh,
pick
I
one?
know.
I bet
Yes.
that was excruciating.
Well, so I will say I got really, really lucky because I matched with the first set of parents that
Okay.
I got their profile. And oh my God, I swear that they're like, I don't know, the international version of me. Like I feel like we're just like our personalities just click. So
Yeah,
we
I
got
love.
really, really lucky.
Oh, that's just so amazing. I love it. So, what tips might you have for somebody who's thinking about doing something like this,
Yeah.
or any even leaders that are looking to start their family? We know how what's the right word? How exciting being a general manager is.
Oh, I know. Yes.
I mean, it's a lot of work.
Yes.
It's a lot of time, a lot of investment. It's
Yes.
challenging to do everything. So, what tips do you have, even just on being a parent and being in an executive role, or if you wanted to try something like this, being a surrogate?
hmm Yeah. So yeah, I will say, so if you're interested in doing surrogacy, like I think the number one tip is to do adequate research on it. I
Mhm.
will say that's probably the one feedback like I wish I would have had, in
Okay.
hindsight, is that maybe I would have done like more time looking into the specifics of how it works. But again, that's why the agency helps because they do answer a lot of those questions for you along the
Okay.
way. But research never hurts.
Yes.
And then, yeah, finding the right agency. And it's okay if you find, like, if you meet with an agency and they're not the right fit for you. Agencies
Mm.
are definitely, they want as many surrogates to work with them as possible. So there's a sales side to it for
Yeah.
sure. But it's okay for you to say, no, this is not the right fit, and to try another one. And
Good.
then balancing, yeah, right, balancing your kids with a full-time job.
Do you
And then
have any secrets?
right. I will say having working for a management company that is supportive of that. So even before I fully committed to this process, I talked to HR within my company as well as my boss and made sure that everybody was supportive of the process.
Hmm.
And they were like, I got absolutely no pushback. They were all excited. Everyone has questions.
Yeah.
And so finding, yeah, a company that has that culture as well,
Mhm.
it's kind of like it was interesting because I had someone say to me within the company, we're all about giving back to the community. And if this is how you want to do it, like why would we ever stop you? And I never thought about it that
Yes.
way. And so when they said that, that really, I was like, wow, that's very supportive.
Yes, and that's such a great tip to
hmm
have those conversations in advance, to make sure you're with the company because there are sadly many companies that have the sign on the wall, but they don't walk the talk.
hmm
So, the fact that they were surprised, this is our mission. Of course, we would be supportive. This is the way you want to give back. Oh, that's so refreshing that you mean
hmm
it.
Yes. No,
So I'm going
it's
to
so
give
true.
Crestline another little shout out there for being a company that means it and supports their leaders, and that's really fantastic. Any
Mhm.
other thoughts on tips for if you are the leader of a direct report that might be
Mhm.
starting something like this, of how you can be a good leader for them?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, so I think you also being supportive, supportive of their dream. I think for me, I guess on my side of it, I liked that so many people had questions, like they were interested in it.
Yes.
So showing that genuine interest, learning more about it yourself, I know that
Hmm.
made me feel like they really care, and that's
Yes.
good. And then definitely, having that flexibility because there are doctor's appointments that come with it as well. And so my company was very, I had to travel out of state a couple of times
Okay.
for different procedures, and they were very supportive of that. And so I think, yeah, I think just asking the questions, being aware of what time the associate might need off, and then doing your best to accommodate it is very helpful
Yes.
as well.
And I'm sure on the flip side, for someone wanting to go into it, have a plan, know
Hmm.
how you will manage those different needs for the program, and have a plan for it so that if there are any concerns with interruption of your position,
Hmm.
that you've got a plan.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, very
absolutely.
good.
Yeah, and
Love
that's
that.
where the research, I think, if you do a little bit of research before you get started and ask those questions, what does it look
Hmm.
like? Yeah, it
Yes.
helps you prepare for
And
that.
now, when you say research, you know how sometimes you go to that chat GPT and you're like, you just don't know the prompt to put in, like you have to know the prompt. Is there anything specific that you would guide somebody in research this? Like, do you know the prompt?
Hmm. No, it's so true. Because yeah, I will say the research, like we talked about researching an agency, but I don't even like that's like just step one. But I would say researching like what is it actually like to be a surrogate? Like what does that process look like?
Okay. How
From
much
start
time
to finish.
commitment is it?
Yes.
How many, yeah, like that, yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say mine, I feel like I got the unicorn because I found like the intended parents on the first
Right.
profile that I was given. And then we were fortunate enough to get pregnant on the first embryo transfer. So everything has moved really fast
Mm,
for me, but that's not the case
right.
for a lot. Yeah. So a lot of intended parents wait years in order to be successful and to bring home a
Mm,
baby because maybe it doesn't work. Maybe the surrogate doesn't get pregnant. They have to try again, or there's
right.
medical issues that come up. So just know it could be much longer than a year
Right.
that you're committing as well.
True, very, very true. And just as I know, to watch this all unfold inside our club has been it's been such a joy. And that with every new update, I'm just like, I can't
I
believe we're here. I
know.
can't believe we're here. I can't believe we're pregnant. It was just incredible. And to close out this section, because I really want to talk about your amazing career, just the meaning of doing this and like
Mm,
looking back on your life in 10 years or 20 years. What do you think the significance of this yes will
mhm.
have on your life?
Oh,
Like,
I
has that
mean,
ever crossed your mind?
yeah, no, it does,
Yeah.
100%. And honestly, I probably on a weekly basis, like at home, I ask my husband, "Do you think we'll do it again? Like, will
Oh.
we do it for another family?"
Mm.
And then it's funny, I had a call with the agency this morning, and she asked me that. She's like, "Are
Oh.
you thinking about, a second journey?" And I'm like, Yeah, maybe. It's
Yeah.
definitely up there,
Wow.
in the air. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I think about my kids, and you would do anything
Yes.
for your kids. And when I thought that there was a chance that we wouldn't have kids, it's devastating. And so to be able to give this,
Yes.
to someone the opportunity, to build a family it's life-changing. I mean, it's creating a life.
Hmm.
Um,
And
and
who
so,
knows what that life will produce? Who
mhm,
knows what that baby will become and
yeah,
do for our world? So every time you say yes, you change the world, and you are doing it in such a massive way. And I
yeah,
love it
I'm
so
so excited.
much. And I've
Oh,
loved
thank
being a
you.
part of it in my small little way.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. All right. Well, I just think about thinking about 20 years down the line, what this decision, this yes will have an impact on you personally. And then
Hmm.
you know, because it's gone so successfully, my mind never even went to the person who might be trying this for more than a year and maybe
Mhm.
end up not being successful and what that might do to you mentally. So you're right. Those are things you need to think through and be prepared for, and maybe even seek therapy,
Mhm.
to
Absolutely.
talk through some of that. So that's, I've only seen this miraculously perfect example.
Yeah.
But yeah, so very, very, very cool. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your amazing career. Skye and I first met when she was an
Mhm.
AGM at one of our Marriott trainings, and I was teaching my yes is the answer, and that
Yeah.
was in California. That was so awesome. And you have been a superstar since the moment I met you. I'm sure you were a superstar before that, but I just know you only as being a successful superstar. So let's talk about this amazing career that you have. But before we get into what you're doing now, what did you dream of becoming when you were a little girl? Do you remember?
It's so funny. So when I was really little, I wanted to be a singer.
Oh, can
Yes,
you
and
sing?
no, no,
Oh,
not at all. No,
I
but
get
I
it.
would walk around the house like making up my own songs. And so that was the dream, as like a 5, 6 year old.
Yes, I wanted to
Um,
be an actress.
yeah, there you go. Absolutely. Yeah,
That's so
no, it's
funny.
so cute. I ask my 4 year old all the time too, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And she's already like, I'm gonna be a hotel manager. I'm gonna work with you.
That's so sweet. That is so
How
sweet.
sweet. Yes.
Yeah. Now, when I ask little kids that question now, I change my question now because
Mm.
I don't want to put them in a box. I always say, "What would you like to be first?"
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yes, because today you can be anything and multiple things. I love that.
Yes.
And now, what was your very first position in a hotel?
So I worked front desk. So I was a guest service representative for a Spring Hill Suites.
And which one? Was it in Seattle?
It was in Renton, so it was south of
Okay.
Seattle, closer to the airport.
Okay, yeah, yes, yes. It was one of our Marriott properties, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yes.
I was with Marriott International for 10 years. So until around the pandemic, essentially. So I
Right.
worked the pandemic with Marriott and then in
Okay.
2021 went franchise.
Okay, got it, got it. That's so great. And that's what I love the most about our industry is that the majority of us start in very humble positions.
Mhm.
And if you show up with the right attitude and the right effort, you can take this career as high as you dream. And I've
Mhm.
loved watching you every little step you make into this amazing career that you have. It's so cool to see that. Now let's talk about what you're in right now. You've got an
Mhm.
amazing position. You're an executive leadership role in hospitality. Were there any defining moments in your career that shaped your approach to managing teams and delivering outstanding service and running
Mhm.
a multi-million-dollar operation?
hmm Yeah, I mean, I think the very first, I think of leaders, like leaders that inspired me. Because when I started in hospitality, I didn't necessarily go in with the intention that this is going to be my career.
Okay.
And so for me, it took having, one manager that really like saw potential and believed in me and said, I think you could really go far if
Hmm.
you are interested in it.
Should we
And
give
so
that person a shout out?
yes, yeah, he doesn't work in hospitality anymore, but
Oh,
if
he
you happen
doesn't.
to see this, no, that was Caleb Sparks,
Caleb
back
Sparks.
at the Spring Hill Suite. So he was my operations
Okay.
manager when I worked the
Okay.
front desk. Yes, yeah, and
Okay.
he stayed my mentor for many years.
Oh,
And so I think that's important too. Very important is finding a mentor.
yes.
So when you have somebody that's willing to commit that time to you, do
Hmm.
not pass it up.
Yes.
That's got to be a mentor, a coach, whatever you want to call it. So, so important.
Hmm. And
Because
honestly, just someone who believes in you.
yeah,
Who's your champion?
yes.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. You can bounce questions, ideas, career opportunities. I talk to him all the time for many years. Anytime an opportunity would come up, what are your thoughts? Like, how do
Right.
you think that will help me? And so having somebody a bit more seasoned to talk that out with, yeah, that's
Yes.
so important.
Yes.
So yeah, I would say that's the first, and I thank him so much.
Hmm.
I don't know that I would have stayed with hospitality if it wasn't for him. And so yeah,
See,
so very appreciative.
and there is another great opportunity right there, how you make a difference. We as leaders, every day we walk through those doors, we get to plant those seeds in our team, believe in them, let them see that there's a future, not just a job in front of them. And that is such an honor every day that we get to do that. I love it. And
Mhm.
so one of the things I'm going to say for a takeaway
Yeah.
is have a mentor.
Yes.
Find a mentor, have someone who believes in you and champions you. I love that. Perfect. Okay, so how about tell us, um, so many people that are in select service
Hmm.
dream of that full service experience and also maybe a downtown property, a big box opportunity. These are real resume boosters. So
Hmm.
your last position that you took on was both a big box
Hmm.
downtown Seattle property and full service. So tell us some of the learning curves you had with that. Tell us some of the things that of someone who's looking to do something like that, maybe what they should start thinking about or what skills they should start honing.
Okay. So,
Okay.
no, no. So I just want to clarify. So right now, I am not like I'm at a Homewood, so I'm not technically like I'm not full service.
Okay, I
Um,
thought they considered Homewood's full service.
so we are, what do they call us? Focused, it's focused and all suites is how
Okay.
Hilton puts it. So Homewood is all suites. So we fall like same category as Embassy. Embassy, yeah, but even Embassy, they don't call it full service. It's kind of weird.
Yeah,
But
see,
they
most
call
of
us
the people I
all.
talk to do consider that full service,
Oh, I
embassy.
know.
But
Yes.
yeah, so
But
okay, so
Hilton just
maybe in
considers us
some,
all suites.
yeah, so maybe in some degree it's not quite 100% full service, but
Yeah.
but it is a big box property downtown, all suites, service focused. So love that. It's that's a big upgrade from where you
Yeah.
were in the suburbs. Yeah.
No,
Mm.
absolutely. No, that's true. And I think what helped prepare me for this role was that when I was with Marriott,
Mhm.
I took on my second AGM role was also at a big box. It was at a courtyard, but it
Mhm.
was in downtown, actually just a few blocks from here.
Mhm.
And so having that experience before being a GM as an AGM at a big box hotel, I think that was critical.
Yes, the
So I
stepping
think
stones.
yes, yeah. And so not one of the things I'm really grateful for in my career is not rushing it. It's okay to be in the same role at multiple properties.
Mhm.
Because you're still moving up. And so I was an AGM at a smaller courtyard in a suburb outside of the city, prior to taking on that role, the same role, but at the big box hotel in downtown.
Mhm.
And so I think, yes, it's okay to take your time as you grow your career as
Yes.
well. And so I think being in that role, I was in that role for almost 4 years or about 4 years.
Okay.
Definitely, it gives you the confidence,
Yes.
not only to take on your first GM role, but then to come back downtown because you're
Mhm.
familiar with how those hotels operate a little bit different than they do in the suburbs. I mean, it's
Yeah.
true. Like you can
It,
work for a courtyard or a Homewood downtown, but if you work in the suburb, it is going to be different. Downtown, it's busier. You've got more in and out traffic. So you have
yes.
more staff, more department heads, more resources, which are
You're
all great
managing more
and can
direct
help you.
reports.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah. Managing more direct reports. Yes.
Yes.
hmm that's interesting. And another case, I really do feel like it's still a smart move. You know, some people don't want to go backwards. Say you're
Hmm.
a suburban GM and you want to move into that bigger box downtown location. It is absolutely a great move to take a step back, maybe go to be
Hmm.
a proper hotel operator or AGM
Yeah.
instead of being the GM and then work your way up again. So sometimes people look at that and, well, will that look poor on my resume? No,
Hmm.
because of the direct reports you'll have, the responsibility, the revenue you'll be managing, etc. So
Hmm.
my advice is to not ever let that stop you, taking a step back to take a step forward.
Hmm. No, it's true.
Mhm.
And I've seen people
Yeah.
do that as
Yes.
well in my career.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, yes. Love that. All right. So tell us some of your tips for being such a successful leader. One, let's hear something for creating a great team culture. Are there
Mhm.
any go-tos that you do at every property? Is there anything that you is a staple for a Skye Branson culture?
No, yeah. So I think, I think spending so much time with Marriott International,
Hmm.
and really having that culture embedded in you, about taking care of your people, and then
Hmm.
your people will take care of the guest. I don't think that ever leaves.
No.
And so when you start at a new hotel, like knowing that it starts from the top down, and so building that culture and that mindset first with your leadership team, so you have their buy-in, and so they're excited about it. Then they start, planning, different activities and ways to recognize the associates, and it
Mm.
it starts to very, slowly start to trickle down, which builds that culture.
Mhm.
And so I think that's really important. I think, as you know, huddles, your daily huddle, is
You're
one of the
singing
most
my song.
is one of
I'm
the
just gonna
most
mark down
important.
number three is huddle.
Oh, yeah. But no, that's so important. And a huddle pack, that was something I think I learned that from you, but
Yes.
I bring that to every hotel. So creating a backpack,
Mhm.
with your binder, I've got all the huddles like pre-printed, ready to
Yes.
go. It's got some activities in it, candy, so any
Mhm.
leader, whoever is leading it that day, can grab their backpack and go have their huddle. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And so that's a lot of fun, and always reminding yourself that it doesn't have to be you every day leading
Right.
huddle. Yes.
It's
But
our huddle, not my huddle.
yes, yeah, exactly. And we assign every leader has a day that huddle is their responsibility. So they do need
Love
to
that.
make sure they show up on their day, but then
Mhm.
every day is covered.
Right.
So that's really important as well.
Those are great tips. So if you are out there listening, these are action items. Get your huddle pack. Make it our meeting, not your meeting. Assign who's going to lead huddle to make it diverse and exciting and different each day. Those are all great builders of a culture. And
Mhm.
there's nothing that will drive your results in every scorecard metric more than huddle will. So,
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
I can't talk about huddle enough.
Yes.
All right, how about your amazing guest experience? What would you say is one of your big tips? What is something that you do that's a signature for you to increase that guest experience?
Yeah, so I think it starts from the hiring process. So having
Mhm.
a good, like, what is your hiring process? What does that look like?
Having one, yes.
Yes, absolutely. I think some of the things that I've really learned along the way, are little things like when you find the right person, obviously we all know nowadays, don't delay. Like it is okay
Yes.
to offer somebody a position during the interview because there's so many jobs out there, that, there's competition. And so if you
Mhm.
find like that person that has great energy, is going to be good for guests, it's okay. You don't look desperate.
Mhm.
We're at different times now.
Yes.
And then having that onboarding process, like between the interview and when they actually start, hopefully that can be a fairly quick process.
Hmm.
And then what does their first day look like? So having somebody come in, what I've learned is having a uniform ready for them on day one, even if it's
Yes.
just one set of a uniform, is so important because it helps them feel like part of the team, right off the bat. So making sure that they've got a name tag, a shirt, that they're
Mhm.
ready to look like, everybody else in their department. They feel like part of the team. Um,
Yes.
and then that you're not throwing them in, day one, that they're not, working the front desk or cleaning rooms, by themselves. But what does that look like? So are you giving them a tour? For us here, we do a tour on the first day, and
Nice.
then we do some, obviously some paperwork, a little bit of computer training, and then it's really only maybe a 3 to 4 hour day. So it's not
Hmm.
too overwhelming, just kind of slowly get immersed.
Yes.
And then on day two, now you're working an 8 hour shift, and we tell them on their first day, here's what it's going to look like. Here's
Hmm.
what you can expect during your onboarding process. So that way they too feel like they're not coming in blind every morning, and it gives them some confidence.
Absolutely. And again, just like ourselves, when we have goals and we know what are the two most important things I need to do today, gives us clarity with the day. When you set your new team member up to not go, God, what will today look like? Or what to, well, is it going to be? Yeah, it's scary being on your first day. So setting that up is a really great strategy. I love, love, love it. And in my episode with Bobby Audley, the coffee chat episode, I talked about the Who Am I form. And I know,
Yes.
Skye, that you are advocate with the Who Am I form. And I had that as a freebie in that episode. So I'll
Yes.
link to that again in this show notes. The Who Am I form really helps to start off on the right foot with your crew members. And
Yes.
if you have a great team, that loves being there, that feels welcome, that is trained well, they're going to deliver extraordinary service to your guest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got a great plan there, and that's a lot of great tips to take away from today's conversation. I love it. Now I have to. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, how have you loved being a part of the Crown Society? Tell everybody just a little bit, maybe what are a couple of your favorite parts of the Crown Society? You've been with me now since I launched it in 2022, and actually
Mhm.
in 2021 I did
The
the
pilot.
pilot,
Yeah.
and you were a part of that too. So tell everybody what your favorite parts are.
Yeah, no, okay. So yes, I am a huge advocate for it. No, because it's, I mean, I swear, like you asked me, like, what are some of my best practices? And I'm like, I learned them all from you.
I love that.
But it's so true. And so yeah, okay, so Crown Society. So a couple of my favorite things. So one I think is the network. So you have this kind of private network of other leaders who are very ambitious,
Mm,
also like to be creative, think outside the box that you
mhm.
can throw ideas off of. So I think one is that community,
Yes,
especially as you move into higher level positions and you don't have peers,
right.
who do you talk to? And so
Hmm.
that's my favorite.
Hmm.
And then from the activities that we do, so I have two. So I love Monday morning huddle.
Yay.
So that's my favorite. So I love to listen to that on the way to work because it just kind of gets me energized, starts the day with good energy. And so I love that you did the podcast because I was always thinking, oh, I wish I had one of these like every morning to listen to on the way to work. And now I have more. I used to re-listen to your Yes is the Answer that you did during COVID.
Oh,
Uh,
right, the
yes.
juicy tidbits.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And so that, yes. But so Monday morning huddle, and then once a month, oh my gosh, the VIP club lounge where
Yes.
everybody dials in. So now it's not just like the private Facebook community, but you
Hmm.
also have this kind of face-to-face where you can talk about challenges
Q&A.
you're facing, yes, and get
Yes.
some feedback or tips on how to handle it.
Love that. Well, one of my favorite testimonials is from yours. And after talking through and doing the Loving Loyalty masterclass,
Mm,
you took on two tips that I talked about, changing thank you to congratulations and offering bottled water. And that month, you increased your loyalty appreciation 48 points, which
yes.
was a record setter. I know these two actions work, but I've never seen it work that well. So, major kudos to you and the team for really executing that. But yeah,
Yes.
you're one of my favorite testimonials for that one.
Oh, yes. No, yeah, that was one of the courtyards. My first GM
Yes,
hotel. Yes, at the
yes,
courtyard.
yes.
Yeah, and I mean, and again, the buy-in, like so my team bought in to it as
Hmm.
well. And at the
Yes.
time, my AGM was also in the Crown Society. And so
Oh,
that, yeah, it
right.
really helped. Like everybody, had that mindset.
Yes.
And I think you had said, I don't know if you said in one of the huddles or a podcast about if you're not uncomfortable, or was it, oh gosh, who was it that said it? Jesse. This is one of
Jeslie Cole has said it
Okay.
too. If you're not a little bit embarrassed
Oh,
about your service, then you're doing what everyone else is doing.
yes. I
Yes,
love that.
me
Yes.
too.
And so that's what I think of. Like, yeah, I mean, it's a little,
Yes.
outside of your comfort zone to change it up. But
Right.
yes.
It's just like I talk about this a lot now because we've lost so much of our service since COVID. We went so transactional and we put so much service on the shelf and we've just forgotten. And then there's so many people now that have never seen that 2019 and before service.
Hmm.
So back in the day, which wasn't that long ago, when someone would walk through our front doors, we would immediately say, "Welcome to the courtyard," or "Welcome to
Hmm.
the Hampton." And today, if you would do that, people would go, "That's weird." Again, we need to get uncomfortable to really stand out to everyone else. So
Hmm.
I love that. It's getting uncomfortable or being even a little embarrassed.
Yes, 100%. Yes.
Yes, yes. So let me do this. What is the quirkiest or most unexpected moment that you've experienced while running a hotel that makes you laugh today? And it could be anything. You can say anything.
Let me see. Oh, okay. No, I do have one that was fun.
Okay.
And so so I had somebody staying, and this was actually also based off of one of your ideas. That was staying and their
Oh,
kid.
I know what you're going to say.
Oh, do you?
Yes, yes.
Their child was celebrating a birthday. And so they were coming. They had multiple rooms, they wanted to use the pool. And that's always, every hotel like employee is always like, oh, great, pool party.
Yeah,
But these were little kids, and it's like, okay, how do you make the most of their stay? And so, we put them in rooms right across from the pool. So we knew they would have easy access to be able to run back and forth. They wouldn't necessarily then be disturbing more guests. But then it was like, okay, how do we have fun, for this girl's birthday? And so the team decorated the guest door. And then we
okay.
took it a step further with one of your ideas. And I actually have done this a couple of times now, but we did a scavenger hunt
Yes,
in
I
the
knew it.
room. Yes. And I've done this now, like when I have VIPs coming with their kids,
Mhm.
it's kind of fun, where and it's so silly, but you like pre-print cards, that have like kind of riddles on them, but they're really easy to solve. And you put them all around the room until they can find whatever is going to be like
The
your big
treasure.
surprise. Yeah, the treasure at the
Yes,
end of it. And it just takes them on a scavenger hunt around their room. In this situation, because they had multiple rooms, we got to do it a little bigger. And we
right.
actually had it where you had to go to different rooms. And
I
it's
love
always
it.
so fun to get the feedback after
Hmm.
from the kids. And yeah,
So
so
fun. Yes.
yeah, so that's one of my
And
favorites.
as a matter of fact, in the book, Yes is the Answer, I share a very special heart story of doing that for a little birthday kids and what that yes ended up changing a whole day, a very
Mhm.
sad day for them into a very memorable day. So
Mhm.
yeah, so that is such a good one. I love that
Yeah.
you did that. Okay, let's go over another fun one here. If you could invite any fictional character or celebrity guest star to your
Hmm.
hotel for the day, who would it be? And what fun twist would you add to the experience for your guests?
Okay. So, oh my God, this is so silly. But I think you had another question once where you said, like, if you could sit front row at a
Yes.
concert. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So maybe it's embarrassing, but my number one would be Celine Dion.
Oh,
Um,
love that.
And so for me, like that would be like my celebrity VIP guest.
Uh-huh.
And I watched her documentary recently as well. And so if she were to stay, I know she has kids that travel with her too. And
Hmm.
she's health conscious. So making sure like personalize the gift, do something
Yes.
fun
Yes.
in the room. But I just adore her. So that would be my dream.
That would be a great one. And then maybe you could plan that around Canada Day.
Oh, there you go. Yes.
I love that. You know who mine would be.
Yes, I do.
I think everybody out there knows who mine would be.
You've had some like such fun things done for you though. Like the
I
cardboard
know.
cutout, of course.
Absolutely crazy. It makes my husband crazy too. He's so funny. Mine's Hugh Jackman, in case there's anybody out there that still doesn't know. And I would have a whole Broadway theme. I would do a whole
Oh, yes.
Broadway package. He would be in the lobby singing Broadway shows and dancing. It would be amazing. Okay, so every show, I ask my guests to ask a question, to provide a question for my next guest. My
Okay.
last guest question for you, now they didn't know that you would be the
Yeah.
guest, but their question is, what are you waiting for?
Oh,
Ooh. So for you, I mean, like you're in the middle of
yes.
doing it, right? But is there anything else that that question would apply to that maybe you've had pondering back here? What are
Hmm.
you waiting for?
No, I love that question. I love it because it can mean so many different things.
So many, yes.
Yes, the first thing that came to mind is so once we deliver, so the baby's due in
Yeah.
early July.
Okay.
Some of the feedback I've been given is to plan something for me
Yes.
because when the baby comes, it goes immediately to the parents. The parents will go home, and it's kind of all
And
this
it's
build
over.
up, and then it's over. Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, like, the feedback has been to plan something that you can look forward to that's going to happen for you.
Yes.
And so my husband and I are going to do Disney World in Florida. He's never been, and we're
Oh,
not bringing the kids. So we've done Disneyland every year with our oldest. She's
okay.
very spoiled,
Yes.
but we'll go back next year with
Mm.
all three. But this year, just us. So
I
I'm
think that's
excited.
such a great idea. And really, another going back to one of our first questions, something to think through if you were thinking about that. I think that is a huge thing to be thinking about because even keeping the baby when
Mhm.
before you have the baby you're pregnant and you are so special and then you have the baby and the baby is so special and you're just
Yeah.
left with all this extra weight feeling horrible. So I mean, so that is a really important thing to think about and you don't know how you're going to emotionally handle it, so it's good to be
Mhm.
planning around that. That's a really good idea, and I love that. I don't know that I'd pick Disney, but I'm just teasing you.
I know. I don't even, gosh, why Disney?
Yeah.
I don't even know how that came to be, but we've been talking. Oh, actually, so we wanted to do New York because
Oh,
the show that we used to watch, Smash, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but they just
no.
turned it into a Broadway play. And so it
Oh.
opens, I think, next month for
Mm.
previews, and it's only through playing, I think, through summer. So then we were like, okay, maybe we'll go to New York. And then I don't even know how Disney and then we were like, okay, maybe we'll do Disney for a few days before and then fly to New York. And
Oh,
I
I
don't
like
know, it's
that
just
one.
kind of evolved.
That's so fantastic. I do have one more other question before you give me your question for the next guest.
Okay, I know, I have to think. That's such a good question.
Okay. Oh yeah, you didn't even answer that question. Oh no. Well, you kind of did. What are you waiting for? But you've kind of planned that.
Yes, yeah. Yes, well, I'm very type A, so I am a
Okay.
planner.
Okay, which is good. Do you have anything else that you're thinking of? What would you wait for? What are you waiting for?
No, no. I mean, for
No,
me, like
okay.
here, my oldest started kindergarten. So it's like such a big transitional year at
Yes.
home with that. And that's going to be so emotional. So, no.
Yes.
So I think, when you're growing your career, I think I'm at the point now where I'm like, okay, like I'm in a GM role. Like this is what I'm going to focus on. And it
Yes.
balances with family. And so now family is kind of going through all of that growth.
Yes. Yeah, love
Yeah.
that. Love that. Well, my other question was basically kind of on that too, is what do you see next? I mean, I know you'll be in
Mm,
this role for a while. You've got
yeah.
a lot to do still with your property and everything. So I know you're not going anywhere. I'm not
No.
putting that out there. But is there a brand that you're wanting to reach? Is there a type of hotel that you'd like to be a part of? Is there a role that you're looking that you'd want to go for?
Yeah. So I absolutely love Crestline. We're the only hotel they have in Washington, so I'm hoping they grow.
Oh,
So fingers crossed. I mean, they're growing. I hope they grow in Washington. I should be
yes,
specific.
yes.
Because they are a fantastic company. And if they do, my dream brand. So I spent so much time with Marriott. I'm so excited now, like getting to explore the Hilton side.
Mhm.
I've always wanted to work on an Embassy Suites. I don't know why, but that is like my dream brand.
that. I've always loved Embassy Suites too as a guest. I've always that's
Yeah.
always been one of my favorite brands. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
that would be a good one. Excellent. And any particular role, or do you really want to stay in general manager role, or do you have any aspirations right now?
Yeah, so one of like I mean, it's so hard to say, but one of my dreams was always to get into human resources. And
Okay.
I think getting to be a GM at the select brand hotels, you get to do so much in
Yes.
HR that for me it fulfills, that passion.
Yes.
And so at an Embassy Suite, those are much larger hotels. They might have an HR department. And so yeah, so potentially one day moving into HR like as a full-time role. Yeah, I would say yes, it's on the dream list.
Yes. Okay. I love it. Excellent. All
Okay.
right, Sky, it's time to wrap it up. What are the action items we want for our people listening to us today? What would you say are some of the action items from our conversation today? Any stand out for you?
Yeah, so I think the number one for me is having a mentor.
Yes.
So a mentor or a coach, or like you said, someone that believes in you.
Mhm.
And saying yes when that opportunity comes up because it can be hard. Sometimes you feel like an inconvenience or a burden, but if there is that person that's willing to invest in you, then lean in. It's okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And Sky, I want to ask you this. How would you say if I was somebody that was, coming up the ranks and I saw someone I really respected, how would you approach someone to say, would you be my mentor? Would you come out with it just like that? Have you done that specifically?
Yeah, I
In
mean,
my career, I've had mentors, but I've never asked
Mhm.
somebody to specifically be my mentor. Have
Yes.
you done that?
No, I haven't said those words
Okay.
specifically. No, I think it's kind of organically like you build that relationship
Hmm.
by reaching out to them. And
Yes.
so I think that's the important part is
Mhm.
building the relationship. So continuing,
Yes.
yes,
Build
to
that
communicate with
relationship
them.
and then letting them know what value you see in them and that you appreciate learning from them, and then they're going to want to reciprocate with that.
Hmm.
Offering more support and teaching more and whatnot. So I think that would be a good way to go. And there's nothing wrong with asking someone to literally be your mentor.
No.
But I think the relationship piece has to be there.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And I think
Yeah.
when you have a good mentor, then you want to give back. So then as
Yeah.
you grow and yes, you're excited to now be someone's mentor. And so yeah.
Yes. Yes, I love that. All right, number two. What do you think number two is?
Well, let's see. I would say so for me, a huddle pack.
Yes.
Yes. So being prepared for your daily huddles with your huddle pack backpack.
Yes. First of all, do your huddles. Second of all, be prepared with your huddle pack. Love
Yeah.
that. If you are planning or wanting to plan to be a surrogate or look into something like that, your first step is to look into services, right?
So your first step would be finding an agency. I would say after you've done some research. So make sure you
Okay.
research, you're comfortable with what is going to be expected of you, the time commitment. And then once you say yes to the process, then
Yes.
yes, finding an agency.
Love that. And we'll do one extra one since we had kind of two topics. Is
Yeah,
there
yeah.
anything else that you think are a good action item from today?
Yeah, so for me, onboarding, having an onboarding plan and that uniform, it's something so silly. Like you wouldn't think just having a shirt and a name tag ready to go makes such an impact, but it really
Hmm.
does.
Huge.
Um,
Because
yeah.
you know why? Because they know you planned for them.
Mm,
How many times have we shown up for our first day and it was like, oh crap, forgot you were coming?
oh, yeah.
But when you have everything planned out, they're like, oh, there was a plan for me.
Yes.
And one more tip on the name tag is I always have training on my
Mm,
newbies so that guests can be more patient and they can understand if they're not as fast at things.
absolutely. Yes, I've done that before too.
Yeah, cool. Love that. Okay, so yeah, I love that. Your onboarding process and having that uniform and just having a uniform. There's a lot of people not in uniform anymore. So,
Oh,
and I've got one for everybody. Join the Crown Society.
Yes.
The door next week, if you're listening to this live on when we launch it, next week we're going to be having our Unlock Love free hospitality 4-day workshop. So definitely would love for you to join us, and then I'll be opening up the doors for a week for the Crown Society next week. That's
Yes.
February 10th through 13th. So hopefully you'll join us for that free week. Love that.
Okay.
All right, well, Skye, I never can spend too much time with you. I just think you are not only an amazing, commendable leader in our industry, but a wonderful human being. You are so amazing. Thank you for being. That's a wrap for today's show. Say yes to taking action and changing the world one yes at a time. And oh, my friend, will you say yes to review, like, and subscribe? The more yeses you give, the more juicy goodness I can bring to all of you wise pineapples. Cool or cool?